I've been looking at Digimon for a while now. Well, looking into it. And it looked fun. It looked unique. But I was growing up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon primarily, so I ignored Digimon for the majority of my life. And I didn't have a problem with that. It wasn't until I got really sick of the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG and left trading card games in its entirety, that I started needing some other childhood fun in my life. And there's not enough Sonic stuff that comes out on a regular basis to fill that gap. And becoming friends with Billiam several years ago, shout out to Billiam, it left a worm in my brain, since he's clearly a big fan of Digimon. I tried watching the original Digimon Adventure and I could not get into it. Then I tried again, a while later, with Digimon Fusion, and again, I really just couldn't get into that one either. This is an exercise in how I basically learned to hack my own brain into becoming a Digimon fan, which honestly is really my job when it comes to my channel. I need to become a fast fan of every show or franchise that of which I'm going to cover, some of which I become a legitimate long-term fan. Other times I learn to appreciate it for what it is. And usually it's easy. It'll just be like a movie or a TV show or a book series. But Digimon is complicated because it is a multimedia franchise. There is no one correct way to be a Digimon fan. And I have been wanting to dip my nose into making Digimon content, but I wasn't about to do that until I felt like I had a real interest in it. And I had been struggling finding something that is Digimon that I personally connected with. It wasn't until the owner of the comic shop that I've been going to every single week for the last decade or more, when he had a problem. I walked into the store and saw a lot of things were discounted, and I just knew something was off. I went to the desk and asked him what was wrong, and it wasn't that the store was closing, it was that a family member of his was in the hospital. And I will not elaborate on that any further, given that that's his business, but it's a case of, it was really bad and it ended up getting worse. So I told him, seeing as I've been slowly stopping buying floppies and only getting hardcovers, and even then, I'm not really too keen on getting those, I stopped and went, okay, fine. You told me that the Digimon card game is good. Toss some packs into my pile of what I'm buying right now. I just wanted to come up with reasons to throw money at him. I didn't actually care about grabbing cards, especially since I had already sold my entire trading card collection of every single card game I had ever played. But while in my car opening the packs, I knew that I was going to keep getting these packs because it was something that was always behind the desk and something that I was always able to just say, hey, toss some packs in so that I can throw some more money at you. And if that were the case, I'd need to actually care about the series. And I had the push to get into it because the cards do look cool and I wanted to help him. So I changed my approach. People often debate, I'm going on a little bit of a tangent here, there's a point to this. People often debate what is the best Final Fantasy game to get into the series would be. People argue that it's Final Fantasy X because it's very middle of the road. But middle of the road doesn't make someone a fan. I've always resented everyone suggesting Final Fantasy X when it comes to this sort of thing. You need something that's not middle of the road, you need something good. So I usually suggest Final Fantasy 15 or the Final Fantasy IV remake. And I took that same philosophy with Digimon. Instead of trying to go back to the beginning with Digimon Adventure, I looked at the reviews of all the Digimon series and found the one that the fans agree is largely the best of all the animated series. So I settled on trying out Digimon Tamers. I mean, it is the show with furry bait. It's perfect for me. Even though in the end, I ended up falling in love with Terriermon over Renamon. So, I mean, funny enough, I'm actually currently raising Terriermon in my Vital Hero, so that's ironic. I had to rethink how I would approach Digimon. I cannot be a classic fan. I didn't grow up with it. And hate me in the comments if you want, it didn't age well. None of our shows aged well. All the anime from that time period are not that good anymore. And there isn't anything wrong with being a new fan. I needed to stop thinking that I had to catch up with everyone else. I feel like I'm giving a Apple presentation wearing this sweater. It's cold outside and I don't get to wear sweaters often. How do I look? Do I look like Steve Jobs? What I needed to do was learn to enjoy Digimon in my own way, which sounds very obvious right now that I say it, but a lot of people get caught in this mindset that they have to catch up. And Digimon Tamers is pretty good. I'm maybe 25 episodes in, I still haven't finished the show. Then I realized I still have Digimon Cyber Sleuth that I got real cheap during a sale, and it's just sitting in my backlog on my shelf. So I popped it into my Switch and started playing it. And I would say Cyber Sleuth was really my entryway into Digimon. And especially after watching Jaden Animation's video, after trying a bunch of Digimon games myself, including the PS4 one, the Switch one, some of the DS ones, and seeing Jaden end up on the DS ones, I'm like, oh my god, this video is gonna be great. You chose the worst one. With Digimon Cyber Sleuth, I didn't need to know the Digimon or their personalities. I just needed to like the designs. And then it hit me. That's how we became fans of Pokemon. We played the game first, and we liked it on a surface level. Then we delved further into it if we liked it. Same thing with the trading cards. We didn't know how to play the game. We just liked the way they looked. And suddenly, I didn't feel dumb buying the Digimon cards anymore. Cyber Sleuth was pretty good. It wasn't a great game, but for someone like me who really had nothing to play, and also got to experience a tidbit of a new universe, I liked it pretty well. I got pretty far in the game, but I just couldn't finish it. There's a lot of quality of life problems in that game, but now I was at the point where I could feel I was starting to appreciate Digimon. So if I tried the shows and the game, what about the merchandise? I looked at these really cool model kits, but I just didn't have a strong enough attachment to really enjoy building one of these. And the old Digivice toys were way too expensive. But Bandai was releasing this new thing called the Vital Hero, where it's basically Tamagotchi, but on a Fitbit. And so I committed to grabbing one. And seeing my little friend on my wrist and interacting with it, I knew this was when I started feeling excited about Digimon. I hit the point where Digimon was fun for me. Now I dabbled into the 3DS game, and now that I've modded a PSP, I think I'm going to continue that on the PSP once I find time. And I have the PS4 game on my console, but I really just haven't gotten around to playing that heavily, only touched on it. Now I'll go to the comic shop and grab a booster pack, not only to help the comic shop, but also because I want to get rare cards. I feel like I've finally broken into Digimon for myself. I still haven't finished Digimon Tamers, but when we're watching shows with my nephew and he wants to watch TV, we'll watch Tamers together. So I haven't abandoned it, I just use it to bond with my nephew in a way. And the biggest part about being a fan is the community. And I don't know anyone, whom of which I see on a regular basis, that likes Digimon. So indoctrinating my nephew with me is the closest I'll get. And him being excited to watch fun cartoons makes me excited. I have a whole community of 2 people, and possibly 3 with my younger nephew getting older. And I have a niece coming along the way. Oh my gosh. What I had to do was stop thinking about what I was supposed to do and think about what I wanted to do. Even now, I decided I don't want to catch up with the anime. What if I just started with the new one that's currently airing? I mean, I have a toy from that series already, and now I am watching Ghost Game on my own. I actually like it. I really watch it when I want to turn my brain off and have a break, but the story is way more interesting than I thought it'd be, and I'm actually interested. And I know some of you may be thinking that this is me announcing that I will soon be making more Digimon content, which I'll say that I've considered it, but I definitely want to make this for me first. I wanted to explain that I am not going to be a Digimon fan like all of you are. Honestly, from what little I've seen, I am very disappointed with how Digimon is being handled. For the love of God, Sonic is being handled better than Digimon. It feels like Bandai isn't trying to push it as strong as I was hoping. Heck, trying to find the Vital Hero in stores was ridiculous. It's in the girls section next to the Tamagotchis, which makes sense. This should not be there, but at least there's a logic to that one. However, there's some places I went to where it's in the board game section. This needs to be next to the Bakugan and the Beyblades. And that's not up to Walmart, that's up to Bandai. You'd like to think that Walmart chooses where it goes. Wrong. Walmart will have you pay for where it should go, which gives me even less hope about how Digimon will be handled in the future. Of course, there is buying it online, which I'm sure is where most people got the toy. And given that there's people on Etsy who make modifications for the DIM card cases or the wrist strap, only makes it even better for me because I am a sucker for customization. I got into retro modding with my Game Boy Advance SPs and my Game Boy Advance and my 3DS, which was surprisingly simple to mod. And now I've modified a PSP. So the fans on Etsy, to me, are like heroes And it also makes me feel like there is a bit more of a community for me to interact with, even if it's just me buying stuff from them. If I do make content for Digimon, it'd probably be Ghost Game, but I'm also hesitant to make a video reviewing a series since I don't want it to become work. I want to solidify being a fan first before I start trying to add my voice to the community, which is why I thought this video would be most appropriate. Digimon, from what little I know, feels like it's in a very weird place, especially since Digimon Survive was barely marketed. It's less of a TRPG and more of a visual novel. Digimon feels fringe right now. The Vital Hero bracelet coming to America gives me a little hope, but it's difficult to gauge how many people are actually interested in this sort of thing. And I'm betting that I'll be forced to import everything from Japan in the future if fans don't buy this toy and Bandai stops trying to put it in American shelves. Digimon really needs a focus. It feels like it's trying to be for kids, but also sorta kinda not really. And a reboot was a good idea, but I feel like they aren't pushing the marketing correctly. They don't wanna generate any hype or interest. They just wanna get something out there. Digimon has potential, but it feels like that potential is being squandered. There was always this thing that people would say when it comes to like startup businesses, which funny enough, Bandai is not a startup business, but the point is, creators spend too much time creating and not enough time advertising themselves or pushing their content. And so they end up having a lot of content that's pretty decent, but no one knows about it. I feel like that is the mindset that Bandai is in with Digimon. So to actually deliver on how to get into Digimon, assuming you're a new fan like I am, this is how I did it. Don't delve into the lore or the story unless you're just absolutely in love with that sort of thing. Don't try to play catch up. Digimon is a multimedia franchise. Your entry point should be what appeals to you most. If you like video games, pick up one of those. If you like card games, pick up a booster pack. I would recommend the Vital Hero mostly just because it forces you to enjoy Digimon in the most innocent way. You raise a little friend and you get excited seeing how it grows and changes. Just be aware that you need the app in addition to the Vital Hero. It's not just a bracelet. Nowadays, there is so much pressure to be a real fan of something, but I think at this point, Digimon fans would just be happy if there was an influx of any new people whatsoever. You're going to deal with jerkwads who will push against an influx of new fans, but you don't necessarily need to blend in with old fans. You can ignore them and connect with new fans like me. And sure, everything that I've mentioned could technically be applied to any fandom, but getting older makes it harder to get into new fandoms, especially something like this where it's been an established franchise for a long time that hasn't been rebooted. At least not, like, really. Like, there was the Digimon Adventure reboot, but that's just the reboot of an anime. That's not a reboot of a franchise. If you can have a friend go into this with you, that will be the most beneficial thing you could have. You could really pick anything you want, and so long as you have someone else to enjoy it with you, you will enjoy it regardless of if it's good or bad. But if you're like me, that's not an option. And that's why I wanted to make this video. And it's very easy to tell who in the community you should avoid because they're the kind of person that will argue that Digimon is better than Pokemon. And now that I've had a good taste of both, I can tell you they just really aren't all that comparable. If you're a fan of Pokemon getting into Digimon, play Cyber Sleuth. The mechanics are very similar. If you aren't a fan of Pokemon, then you should probably start with Digimon World for either the PS4 or the Switch. Just be aware the combat is very different. Honestly, the concept of the game I think is very odd. As for the established fans, what would you recommend? Specifically for me in this situation, I am a big fan of story, so I really need something to appeal to me in that regard. I'm thinking of getting Digimon Survive because of that, but I'm very hesitant because I do not stick with visual novels to the end. I don't even stick with visual novels until halfway through. So what would you recommend for someone like me? And leave any other recommendations for new fans down in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay beautiful and keep playing.